The lead up to the final unveil of the Plaid vehicles has been an interesting one to be sure. One version is no more. We get a new tidbit on the revised center screen, images of Cybertruck prototypes have cropped up, and a whole bunch more. This is Tesla Tidbits episode number 655 for the week of June 6th, 2021. Just before publish time this week, Elon dropped a major bomb on Twitter for some folks hoping to procure the fastest production car ever created. Those folks will have to wait just a touch longer for the Roadster, as the Plaid Plus Model S has been canceled. From a thread of Elon's tweets, quote, Model S goes to Plaid this week. Plaid Plus is canceled. No need, as Plaid is just so good. 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 2 seconds. Quickest production car ever made of any kind. Has to be felt to be believed, end quote. So this is a big one. Plaid Plus was supposed to drop 0 to 60 further, as well as extend range beyond 500 miles, so long as you wanted to drop an additional $35,000 on the purchase. For those scoring at home, that's nearly the cost of a standard Range Plus Model 3. What is the reason? Well, I think we'll get the full answer at the delivery event on the 10th, but my wild speculation is twofold. One, the 4680 cells just aren't ready yet. To get that range and that performance, those will absolutely be required. Secondly, and I think actually more importantly, they need some differentiation from the Roadster. Yes, the Roadster is a gorgeous looking hypercar, and the Model S is a family sedan. But when both vehicles have nearly identical specs, and the price difference would be $100,000, that's tough to look a customer in the eye and make that ask. I think Elon's smart, and to borrow one of his phrases, they're choosing to keep that powder dry for the Roadster release. On top of this, I think the standard Plaid Model S is going to see a touch of a bump in specs over the original announcement. Nothing concrete here, just a feeling I have. Speaking of nothing concrete, tidbit number 2 is a rumor that Sawyer Merritt caught wind of. It seems that the new center screen in Model S and Model X is going to get up to a 45-degree pivot per his sources. From his tweets, quote, the main refreshed Model S screen tilts in both directions about 45 degrees through UI. The screen is motorized. It has a very sleek mechanism that kind of looks like an iMac stand, and it retreats back into the dash about 2 to 3 inches and tilts whichever way you want it to tilt. The main UI elements are also movable, so the passenger can have stuff they like on the right side of the screen, end quote. That final bit looks like they took some Twitter feedback into account, as I seem to recall somebody making that suggestion before and it being acknowledged. So remember, always throw your thoughts out there. You never know if they'll get integrated. As to the screen itself, this is something that many Model 3 and Model Y owners have been jonesing for, and quite frankly, me and my Model S as well. Sun glare is a real thing through all these gorgeous windows on these cars, and being able to remedy that from a tilt function is a very nice touch on the top-of-the-line vehicles. Continuing on the what's new in the car thought train, we get word of what's powering the new gorgeous center screen in the refreshed Model S and Model X. The Kilowatts posted video of AMD's CEO Dr. Lisa Su speaking in a keynote for the Computex conference in Taipei, where she revealed that the Ryzen graphics chipset was powering the vehicle center screens. Dr. Su revealed that when running high-end games, that owners would expect to see a 10 teraflop performance from the chipset. For a frame of reference, the PlayStation 5 runs at 10.28, and the Xbox Series X, Microsoft's high-end flagship, runs at 12.1. This puts the vehicles squarely in the space of current-gen gaming consoles, meaning that while games were kind of a bonus distraction on the older revisions of the cars, you quite literally could run any game you wished with this hardware, assuming the developer supported a Linux version. More importantly, at least to me, is that the vehicle should never ever see any type of input lag or stutter for normal use. I cannot imagine that Tesla could throw anything at these vehicles from a UI perspective that would actually tax this setup. They'll be able to run this for many, many years and many, many firmware updates and have zero issues. And to me, that's more the reason that this was done. The games are just a cherry on top. Tidbit number 4 is another announcement from Elon. The Model 3 and Model Y recently had lumbar support removed from the front passenger seat, as well as some modest price increases. Elon took to Twitter to explain why. Quote, moving lumbar was removed only in front passenger seat of 3/Y. Obviously, they're not there in the rear seats. Logs showed almost no usage, not worth cost/mass for everyone when almost never used. Prices increasing due to major supply chain pressure industry-wide. Raw materials especially, end quote. I suspect that the price changes will fluctuate back once the shortage situation is resolved. However, I wouldn't bank on passenger seat lumbar support returning on the lower end vehicles. That it was there at all was mildly surprising, anyhow, to me. This had some considerable pushback from a lot of folks, which also really surprised me. I mean, personally, all I care about is my own comfort in my vehicle. Things like lumbar support and heated seats for my passengers are just all extras that are definitely not selling me a car. Tidbit number 5 this week is that the referral program is changing again, courtesy of Tesla in the Gong and his eagle-eyed informant at 2old4_this on Twitter. On June 1st, the raffle to win a Model Y or a Roadster ceased to be a thing, though quite frankly, we'd never heard anything about anyone cashing one of those golden tickets outside of one lucky person in Taiwan anyway. While the program was great, Tesla has truly outgrown it. The free supercharger miles are a soft cost and an easy token of appreciation to give, so I really don't see those going anywhere for a while, if ever. For me, it's a sad ending, not really because I'll miss the prizes, I was never eligible anyhow because of my state's laws, but more because I'll miss the nostalgia of the company being small enough for that program to be something that they could afford to do, and the memories that came with it. Tidbit number 6 for this show is courtesy of Inside EVs, and is a PSA for Model 3 and Model Y owners that you could be getting a recall notice soon for your braking system. It seems that there could possibly be an issue with brake caliper bolts that may be noisy, and could lead to tire pressure loss. In the email sent to owners, Tesla assures owners that it is unaware of any crashes or injuries related to the issue, but of course they want to proactively fix this in order to ensure that there never are any either. And our final tidbit this week comes courtesy of Derek over at Tesla Inventory, and is one where we begin to see the differences with the new Radarless vehicles. Model Ys are heading out to customers minus the hardware, and customers are noticing changes to vehicle functionality. Derek showed off the differences with some friends that just took delivery of one of the new vehicles. One of the first differences of note is that previously autopilot was functional to 90 miles per hour or 145 kilometers per hour. Vision-equipped vehicles for now are limited to 75 miles per hour or about 120 kilometers per hour. Tesla notes in a blog post that this is a temporary restriction, likely until they have enough real-world miles to feel confident at operating at the higher speed. Another difference, one which is annoying to say the least, is the requirement that auto high beams must be on in order for autopilot to operate. Even in my AP1 car, I have blinded the crap out of some people with my auto high beams, and there's a dedicated sensor there to handle those things on my car. I have not seen much different from folks with the newer vehicles without the dedicated hardware either. Another interesting change is the windshield wiper jets. The old models, at least on the Model Y, had a single jet mounted to the attach point of each wiper. The new version sees an extra double spray head mounted on each wiper in addition to the original spray head, giving 3 times the juice and better coverage for the sprayer. It would seem between this and the high beam requirement, they're really going all out to ensure the cameras are able to see what is needed and have autopilot be available to the driver as much as possible. The Model Y is now being delivered also have picked up the Model 3 double pane glass on the side windows, as well as switching the rear turn signals to an amber color rather than red, which I know some people were critical of previously. I'm actually really excited to eventually get my hands on a radarless vehicle, as with my radar-equipped AP1 Model S, in bad weather, the radar housing almost becomes a giant catch basin for all the snow flying. I've been locked out of autopilot for this reason on many occasions over the course of the 3 winters I've owned my car. Vision only, plus the upgrades that Tesla has ostensibly made to support pure vision, would seem to solve my issues, as well as the issues that any other folks may have had once the switch to full self-driving is made available for everyone. That'll do it for this week's show. Thanks to all my patrons supporting the show at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits. As always, I have a special shout out to all the super patrons supporting the show at the $10 plus level. They're Ryan Scarborough, Lee Sweet, William Henry Crew III, Dorian Steve Guberman, Ralph and Cheryl Waterhouse, Todd Sullivan, Zortech LED Canada, Raymond and Deborah Malkowitz, Vicky Kirk, Ricky Johnston, Nathan Garza, Ed Patterman, Sunil Joseph, and Brad Lettner. If you have feedback for me, the best way to be heard is to tweet at Tesla Tidbits and use the hashtag AskTeslaTidbits if you'd like your question to be considered for the show. Until next week, keep it charged and hit the road.